This year, our Christmas offering is going to support two organizations for Palestinians. You heard last week from Lana Mustafa, who's the director of Roots of Resilience, a group that started right here in New Jersey where she lives, but works to support farmers in the West Bank through mutual aid. This week we hear from Bob Chase, who, as a member of this congregation, of course, but as a former staffer of the national setting of the UCC, has spent some time in Jerusalem and Israel and Palestine, and we'll talk a little bit about that context.
Thank you, Katrina. Before I begin my remarks, I just need to say a word about how humbling it is to have been in the presence of this musical presentation this morning. It's amazing, inspiring, and memorable. So thank you to all of you, to everyone, John David and Jeremy, and where'd Jeremy go? Jeremy left. And everybody who made that possible. It is really humbling. And in a couple of minutes, I will be talking about the wider context. And I want you to know and understand that the context to which I refer is the context on the ground. What you provide here is the cosmic context, and everything I say needs to be seen within that context. So more than 20 years ago, when I was Director of Communication for the National Offices of the United Church of Christ, I had the opportunity to travel to Israel, Palestine, to produce a video that portrayed the Palestinian perspective in support of the church's global ministries efforts in that troubled region. Logistics and locations for the trip were brilliantly arranged by Mart and Betty Bailey, who were living in the Middle East at the time and who accompanied us on our journey. Part of our time was spent in Gaza, and I had the privilege of visiting the Al-Ali Arab Hospital, one of the recipients of this year's Christmas offering. So can you imagine the joy of discovering that that trip I took so long ago would be memorialized in this setting today? So the result of the trip was the 15-minute video called This Holy Place. There is information on our website, so it's a little hard to find, but the video is still online, and I would really encourage you to take a look at it because it sets up that context on the ground that I mentioned. Remember now, This Holy Place first aired in 2003. It's a while ago. So one of the startling and sad and frightening and frustrating things you'll notice is how relevant the message is for today. So that context on the ground that I cited earlier, the video describes the situation in Israel-Palestine from the Palestinian perspective, one rarely heard in the U.S. then and now. It's a perspective that's been so clouded by partisan U.S. politics that if it's portrayed at all, the truth of Palestinian story and indeed the Palestinian people has been rendered inaccurate, incomplete, and inhuman in unimaginable ways. Last week, we heard about the group Roots of Resilience and Lana Mustafa's harrowing encounter in her hometown in the West Bank, where she felt her very life was threatened. And while I cannot corroborate her specific story, I can tell you that I witnessed countless accounts that were remarkably similar to what she shared. It was the first of several trips to the region that I took, and I had come of age during the civil rights struggle in the US, so I knew about prejudice and discrimination, fear, and heartbreak based on race in the American South and in our urban centers. But nothing compared to the absolute separation and deep-seated enmity that I witnessed between Israelis and Palestinians. It was a simmering, asymmetrical struggle. Israelis had the power and they wielded it with a heavy hand. Palestinian individuals suffered personal humiliation at the checkpoints. I saw that. And while state-sanctioned rules and customs erected insurmountable barriers at the corporate level. It was shocking to see homes that were bulldozed, and I saw them bulldozed recently before I had been there, and the constant threatening presence of the Israeli military into everyday life. So part of our trip included a visit to Gaza City, one of the most densely populated places on earth. Now, I've worked in New York City and lived in the shadows of it, and I know about dense demographics, but somehow Gaza was different, a palpable, seething cauldron of discontent just beneath the surface. Densely populated does not capture the powder keg atmosphere ready to blow at any time that I encountered back in 2003. And sure enough, on October 7th, 2023, the powder keg erupted in the tragic events that have led to the current conflict. Mart and Betty took our small crew to the Al-Ali Arab Hospital. There was this small courtyard that served as a kind of reception place. I had this vision then, and 2 decades ago, of a brightness in the midst of the oppressive darkness and poverty surrounding that small courtyard in that hospital. The small courtyard, complete with vegetation and sunlight, surrounded by the dense, oppressive, chaotic cityscape filled with disillusionment, violence, and despair. In Advent, we celebrate the anticipation of light breaking into darkness with the birth of Jesus Christ. How appropriate, I thought, when I learned that the Al-Ali Arab Hospital was part of our Christmas offering, light breaking into darkness, the dawn, unlike any other dawn. Sometimes we give to wider circles of care, our church's wider mission, and it is good and right that we do so. But sometimes we get the rare opportunity to support something that is helping people in very specific ways that are knowable firsthand. Mart Bailey knows this place. I once visited it. We've all seen video of the destruction of Gaza today. Whole city blocks leveled. The Al-Ali Hospital itself was bombed, and still it carries on. Its courageous and resilient staff continuing to bring the light of healing into the very dark times of today. And it has been doing this since before I was there more than 2 decades ago. Yeah, the darkness is different now, deeper, more profound. The ravages of war have brought catastrophic injuries, death and dislocation, famine and rampant disease. Yet that image, that small courtyard and its healing light, that dawn penetrating the surrounding darkness, still haunts and inspires me. The Al-Ali Hospital is still serving the people in dire need of care. And I ask you to join with me and give generously to the Christmas offering. So be it. Amen.